I want to call the Williamson County Commission Budget Committee to order for October 5th, 2020. Before I call the roll, let me read the requirements for the electronic meeting. Want to make sure that everyone can hear us. So this meeting is being held pursuant to Executive Order 60 from the Governor of the State of Tennessee. As such, all members of the committee must be able to hear me and each other. If you cannot hear other committee members, please notify me immediately. All votes will be done by roll call. Without objection, the Budget Committee hereby determines that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. This meeting is available to the public on Public Access TV and is streaming live on YouTube. Any questions? Everybody hear one another? Let's see. Yeses. Okay, here we go. All right. Roll call. Commissioner Herbert.
Herbert here.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton.
Morton here.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon.
Sturgeon here.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson.
Anderson here.
Commissioner Webb is here. All right. First up on the agenda is the minutes. We had a combined property budget committee last month. Those minutes were sent out today. If you've had a chance to look at them, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion for approval, Commissioner Sturgeon.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Herbert second.
Thank you. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? All those in favor of the minutes of the Budget Property Committee from September 8th, 2020, I think we got to do a roll call. I just said that. All right. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, yes.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
And Anderson, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes yes. Minutes are passed unanimously. Just a note here before we move on to the resolution. We're going to move resolution 1020-13 up. So if you're using paper, need to file that. We're going to move it up to first, right after the transfer. And then we do have two late filed resolutions. If you don't have that, Diane or Jamie can get those two late filed to you. They came out today. All right, first up is a budget transfer. This is from the General Sessions Court. You see this before us for $1,320. It's transferred for office supplies for software licenses. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? It looks pretty self-explanatory.
Mr. Chairman, that was
Yes.
$1,330.
$1,330. Thank you for the correction. All right. If we don't need an explanation, we'll go ahead and vote. Ready to vote? All those in favor of this transfer signify by saying aye. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. That transfer passes unanimously. Now we'll start in with the resolutions. Again, we're going to read 1020-13 out of order. So before you, resolution 1020-13, a resolution authorizing the Williams County Mayor to enter into a limited use license agreement for use of a portion of county-owned property located at 8210 Malachi Lane, Arrington, Tennessee. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second.
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. All right. I think we have Kevin and Bill Jorgensen and Todd Helton on the line. Horton, who wants to address this one first?
This is Kevin Benson. I can go ahead and address it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Basically, we have a piece of property on Malachi Lane that our EMS works out of, and that's in Triune. We don't own the actual entry road. However, what this resolution will do is we'll make the venue personnel that own and operate a venue to our east. They're going to park people to our west, and they're going to traverse and shuttle people over to the event. What it is forcing them to do is utilize Williamson County Sheriff's law enforcement personnel to control that road. In the event that we have an emergency call, they can stop all traffic and allow the emergency EMS vehicles to respond to the emergency. Pending your questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right, are you ready to vote? Thank you, Kevin. Okay, ready to vote on resolution 1020-13. Commissioner Herbert.
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton.
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon.
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson.
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 1020-13 passes unanimously. All right, next
Thank you,
up.
Commissioners.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Next up is 1020-1. A resolution approving lease purchase agreement for Chromebook computers for digital learning. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Herbert. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. I have Mr. Golden and Mr. Samuels on the line. If anyone has any questions, do you want to give a quick summary, Mr. Golden?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This particular request is on your agenda because it's a lease purchase agreement. We're not asking for any funding from you for this year, but it is a 4-year commitment for us on a lease purchase agreement at 0 interest, which will flatten out our purchasing for student Chromebooks with that 4 years that we will be committed to pay out of our operating budget for the next 3 years after this year. We also project that with these purchases, we're going to be able to get the devices that we're concerned we'll be able to get under our regular schedule because there's such a demand for these devices from so many school districts across the nation. It will also, we project, create a 4-year window of some steady payments, and a year or two after that 4-year window where our need for purchasing will drop before it comes back up for replacement time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Director Golden?
Jason.
Mr. Sturgeon?
Yeah, yeah.
I see Commissioner Sturgeon, then Commissioner Herbert. How's that?
Okay.
Thank you.
You muted, Commissioner Sturgeon. There we go.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm just curious, why do I feel like we've already done this before?
That's a great question. And by the way, I just put my mask on because Mark Samuels was having audio trouble. He's come into my office. We've actually done this earlier this year with purchases to make sure we had enough devices to provide one this emergency year to all our students K-12. And what we did with our existing devices is kept them and then added to them with new ones at the beginning of this year. What we found is that extra year we tried to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Hopefully the commission has heard me. What we found is that many of the devices that we're trying to squeeze an extra year out of are having problems right now for our students. So with a combination of that and the purchasing schedules that our technology folks are getting from our vendor, and this opportunity to do this lease purchase for 0%, this is the time that we've determined is best for us to make that move. And Mr. Samuels is here if you want any extra detail related to that.
Thank you, Commissioner Sturgeon.
Hey, Jason, can you give me just so I can get an idea of the order of magnitude, how many existing do we have and how many have we leased under previous agreements? And I think it says 4,600 or something under this one.
Well, there's actually 2 items before you this month. One is for us with for approval of a lease purchase. The second one is actually the county that Nina will address, and that's the 4,065. This particular lease purchase would be for 15,791 devices. Our previous purchase was for 18,555 at the beginning of this year. You also asked our total, Mr. Samuels. Can you give the actual total? I don't know that number off the top of my head.
These two together, along with the one that Nina is presenting, is 19,589. You add that to the 1855 that we had, and that number is
It's about 46,000 total in that range.
Yeah, so that replaces this purchase, one that Nina has, one that is before you now, will replace all the old ones that we have right now, which are failing due to the processors getting overloaded when the students are having to use too many applications at the same time. The newer ones that were purchased with the other one you're referring to, Commissioner, this last summer, they're doing fine.
Okay, so you're saying at the beginning of the year, we had about 18,500?
No, ma'am, that was the question I asked Mr. Samuels, the total including the older devices was her question. We purchased 1855.
So do we have about 60,000 devices right now between what we had before and what we were leasing under 3
No.
more agreements?
No, man, we're pushing 46,000.
It's in the low 40s total.
Total. And then how many of the 46,000 are not under a lease agreement?
There's about 20,000 of them outright owned. This lease purchase, as well as the one that Nina has put forward, will replace almost 20,000 of them. So it's replacing the old ones we have that are not working. And that maintains the inventory.
At 46,000 approximately.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Thank you. Now I understand.
Okay, Commissioner Herbert.
Jason, so are you saying this is an agreement to purchase not this year, but next year?
I
Would
think
you
I
say-
got
would you
your,
say that?
I think I got your message. I'm getting an indication that you're cycling, so I don't know if it's me or you. This is a lease purchase that would allow us to acquire these devices late this fall, early January.
Okay, so it will be in this budget year.
Yes, and what we are doing with the technology department that we presented to the board is using existing funding for technology to redirect towards this purchase because this is a high priority for us. So we're not actually asking you for any money out of fund balance. It's actually out of the existing approved technology budget. We've decided to forego some other budgeting issues because this is a priority.
Okay, I have one more question. I know some of the other counties charge each of the parents, I guess it's called like an insurance fee before they let them have a laptop. Do we do that? And if we don't, why not?
We analyzed that, and what we determined, and I'm just going to use some blunt language, that's niche insurance that based on the per unit cost of these devices just wasn't really worth it. Our tech folks are replacing, like you can replace a screen. We do have a standard where if it's broken, then we can charge somebody. I will tell you, Mr. Samuels has some detail on that. We've been really pleasantly surprised so far that that's been pretty minimal of the damage from our students this first quarter.
Commissioner, we've
Okay,
really
thank you.
in our history with these Chromebooks and students take them home, we've really only had one instance where we required a family to reimburse us for the second one that this student broke. So they're actually behaving very well and they're standing up pretty well as well.
Okay, any other questions? Commissioner Sturgeon?
Yeah, I'm just curious, how many go out to students and we never see them again?
To my knowledge, we've had 0 so far. Now,
Great.
with me saying that, they've had them for a quarter, right? So we did pilot this at Independence High School and Brentwood Middle last year, and we had a strategic plan to just do this at the high school before COVID hit, but we had to expand it quickly to all grades. And at that pilot, we accounted for every single one of the devices.
All right. I will note that my granddaughter is doing the virtual school, and her initial one failed and was quickly replaced within a day or so. And so, give everybody a high five. This has been a difficult rollout for you guys, I know. And so that was very impressive, the quick turnaround for a second grader. Do we have any other questions on this particular resolution, 1020-1?
I do have one question.
go ahead.
Just out of curiosity. The students are not allowed to put any apps on there, only the school, right? Is it monitored somehow where they can't just put anything on there?
Yes, ma'am, it is monitored, and you're correct about that. It's a school device. We actually format them. I'm using the improper terminology, but we format them ahead of time. We have security systems that we actually install on the device, plus our web-based security systems. And we do monitor that. I will tell you, for those of you in the computer industry, you know that all those safety and security protocols need constant attention, because there's somebody out there in the ether who's constantly working for ways to get past those.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Budget Committee members, any more questions? Are we ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of Resolution 1020-1 signify by saying aye. I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. That passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 1020-2, a resolution authorizing Williamson County, Tennessee to purchase Chromebooks, amend the capital projects budget, and to accept reimbursement from the Tennessee CARES Act management system in the amount of $1,499,985. Reimbursement to come from the CARES Act. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. And I think this one is, even though it's for the schools, I think Nina is going to address this issue. Nina?
Right. I'm not muted. Okay. So this monies is part of the CARES Act funding. The federal government sent $2.36 billion to the state of Tennessee. Once the state received those funds, they allocated to the local jurisdictions based on population. Williamson County received that $3.475 million. These funds could be used to assist schools with purchases of computers. It does go through the county, which is a little different than how we typically do that, but we are pre-approved for reimbursement of these funds. So it's a total of $1,499,985 that will be reimbursed to the county for the Chromebooks.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right, seeing no questions, are we ready to vote? All right, if you're in favor of Resolution 1020-2, signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Commissioner Webb votes aye. 1020-2 passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 1020-3, resolution accepting roads in Bell Pond subdivisions, part of the county road system for maintenance by the County Highway Department, located off State Route 11, Nolensville Road. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. And do we need to, let's see, who's going to address that one? I guess Mayor Anderson. I don't see one from the Highway Commission on here.
Mr. Chairman.
Or Joe Horn, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Is that who's going to address this one?
If you wish.
Okay.
The Bell Pond subdivision was a subdivision approved in the county, and after undergoing a rather lengthy bonding period and ultimately having to have called the bond as a result of a default by the developer, we took those funds, meaning the development department, brought the roads up to county standards, and now they are ready to be accepted into the county road system for maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, ready to vote? All those in favor of Resolution 10-20-3 signify by saying aye. And I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 1020-3 passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 1020-4. Resolution amending the 2020-2021 General Sessions Veterans Court budget by $54,020.27. Revenues come from federal through state grant funds. So I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. We have this in front of us. I'm not sure, is that going to be you, Nina? You can see this is carryover money plus new grant funds. Is that correct, Nina?
That is correct. These are monies that were received last year. Then down in the fourth whereas, we're just bringing the previous year's monies forward that were unused at the end of the year. And in the next whereas is the allocation for the current fiscal year.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right, seeing none, ready to vote on 1020-4. All those in favor signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. That passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 1020-5, resolution appropriating and amending the 2020-2021 assessor's budget by $8,250 for educational incentive salary supplements, revenues to come from state funds. So I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
All right, this is pretty routine, but if you have a question, anyone on the budget committee have a question, we'll get it answered for you. All right, seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of Resolution 1020-5 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. Resolution 1020-5 passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 1020-6, a resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to sign a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of State Division of Elections and amending the 2020-2021 Election Commission budget by $25,000, revenues to come from state grant funds. So I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. I believe we have Mr. Gray on the call. If you have any questions. Do you want to have any questions or we want a summary from Mr. Gray? No? Self-explanatory? Okay, ready to vote? All right. All those in favor of Resolution 1020-6 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 1020-6 passes unanimously. Next item up is Resolution 1020-7, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security and appropriating and amending the 2020-2021 Sheriff's Department budget by $40,000. Revenues come from federal pass-through state grants. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. As you can see, this tells you how this is to be used. We do have the sheriff is online. If anyone has any questions, anyone have any questions about 1020-7? All right, looks pretty self-explanatory. Are we ready to vote? All right, all those in favor of Resolution 1020-7 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye, and 1020-7 passes unanimously. Next one up is resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a 2020-2021 contractual agreement with the state of Tennessee for local health services and appropriating and amending the 2020-2021 health department budget by $77,927, revenues to come from state grant funds. So I have a motion for approval.
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. I think Nina has a quick explanation on this one. Is that right, Nina? Okay.
Each year at the time that we prepare budget, we do not have our final numbers for these the Health Department state grant. And this is finalizing the grant for 2021 for a total of $1,249,000. And these are just our accounting entries to bring that up to budget.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right, seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of 1020-8 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 1020-8 passes unanimously. Next up is 1020-9, and note we will have an amendment on this one. Resolution appropriating and amending the 2020-2021 Planning Department budget by $6,300 for public notice related to amending the Williamson County zoning ordinance revenues to come from unappropriated county fund balance. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
All right. We've been asked to amend this one by $8,700 to a total of $15,000. And we've got Mr. Horn on the line. If you have any questions, or we can entertain an amendment at this point. Committee's choice. You'll hear from him first. All right. Joe, do you want to tell us what we've got here real quick, and then we'll do the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. What we have here is under the adoption of the new zoning ordinance, we had a rather sizable set of legal ads we had to put together. All told, these legal ads ran 3 full pages in local newspapers. That was somewhat more pricier than we had anticipated in this budget year, of course. And then secondly, that got exacerbated a bit by the fact that by a pure error here internally, we managed to attach the wrong list of property owners. If you happen to see the ads that ran last week, every property owner subject to this particular zoning amendments were advertised in the paper. That was some 6,000 plus names, addresses / parcels. So it's quite the undertaking. And it came to us on Friday, and that's the reason for the amendment. I'll use a phrase that Mayor Anderson used to me, but I think was first used by former county executive Calicott. We burnt the biscuits with the ad, and it's pretty important that we make sure that the ad's right, and we do have the ad right now.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Does anyone have any questions?
This is Commissioner Herbert. I have a question.
Oh, we got talking over. Hold on. Commissioner Herbert and then Commissioner Sturgeon.
Mr. Horn, I guess I've had a million emails, and then I've had some angry phone calls. But was this ever advertised in the paper before now, like back 6 months ago or a year ago? Or this the first time?
You know, I didn't want to confuse. I didn't want to. I'm sorry, I can't get these unmute things down. I didn't want to confuse matters. Earlier this summer, we sent out a postcard notice to anybody that would be affected by it. Okay? Then after that, we sent out postcard notices to not only the affected property owners, meaning those that would have the property scheduled for some brand of map amendment, but also the adjacent property owners, which is in the zoning ordinance as well. So the legal ad is one part of I guess a multi-part set of outreach that we have to do in cases of zoning map amendments. Does that answer your question?
So these property owners did receive notice back in the summer. It wasn't just right now.
They received they were given sort of a heads up, Commissioner Herbert, that this was that we were heading in that direction, and then they received notice, and I don't want to say when, but it's been within the prescribed legal period that their property was up for rezoning. And of course, we had a rather extensive and robust set of hearings last spring, late last winter, about the time the dreaded COVID hit as well. So we have made, I think, every good faith effort to let anyone know that this was heading their way. Do you catch them all? You'd like to think you do, but I'm certain somebody may or may not have gotten a notice, but we have done everything we can to make sure that notice was in fact made.
I guess what I'm talking about, when we voted on it last kind of winter, was there a notice sent to anybody, or was it the signs that were put around, or was anything in the paper, or is it just kind of, if you happen to read the paper, you'd see an article on it?
I think at the time last time that was merely the plan amendment, where it suggested that would be the plan amendment would be the policy statement that the Planning Commission makes as to the comprehensive plan amendment, that this is what the plan hopes to accomplish. We are now at the actual point of actually implementing the laws, which has a whole different set of requirements for this. But I think if you remember, when we held the discussions on the plan amendments, both the county commission and the planning commission meetings were very well attended on both of those nights. In fact, they happened about 3 nights apart.
Yeah, I remember it well, but there's some few people saying they knew nothing about it. That's the reason I was just asking. Thank you.
I understand.
Commissioner Sturgeon.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Hey, what was on the postcard back in the summer? Did it actually say what the change was going to be, or it just said there's going to be a change?
We advised it was general in scope. It simply said that we would be moving forward with amendments to the zoning ordinance that would affect your property later this summer / now I guess fall. And then a week or so back, we sent the actual notices to each of the property owners, that what their property would be zoned to, and even by statute we had to notify folks that the properties touched those that were going to be rezoned. So it was a pretty good size undertaking. All told, we sent out about we're in the range of between 6,000 and 7,000 notices out on 2 different occasions.
Yeah, that's a lot. But this conversation started before the notices, right? We've been having community meetings for what, 1.5 years, 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And how would people find out? How do you notify people there's going to be a community meeting back when this first started?
Well, this during the whole plan update, and I wasn't as deeply involved as Mike Madison was, and Mike isn't in on this meeting, but we had a number of meetings in the community. We had forums on the internet. We had, every time we held a public meeting, we I guess mined the sign up sheets and basically made sure anybody who signed into the meeting got notice. Plus, plus we had just the word of mouth that gets along with the notice. But we have followed all the prescribed means of notification under the law.
Right. I'm sure you have, of course, but like if you're a resident and you're just picking your head up and finding out about it now, I'd like to say that, this is how you would have found out about it. And
I understand.
Can I say the newspaper? There was something in the newspaper before each of these neighborhood meetings?
This was again, Commissioner Sturgeon. I wasn't handling that part of it, and I don't want to mislead you, but I'll be happy to have Mike Madison discuss what we do, the actual outreach with you.
Okay.
I wasn't handling that part of that.
Okay. And so in the newspaper, the one that's costing $15,000 or whatever, you're listing actually the names of every property owner that's affected and every property owner that's adjacent? Is that what I heard you say?
No, ma'am. We're not listing the names. We are listing the properties by map and parcel number and by address. But there are no names in.
Oh, okay. All right.
That would be I don't know, that probably,
Privacy kind of,
yeah.
even though it's public record, you can go and look, see who lives at each box. I had one other question, but I can't remember what it was.
But I will have Mike Madison follow up with you. That's.
Oh, that was it. That was it. So we're going to see a resolution. We are not going to see a resolution in October on this.
You will see it at the November County Commission meeting.
The actual zoning ordinance changes next
Yes, ma'am.
month.
Yes, everything else equal. We
Okay,
are
and
having,
you're not going to delay it, right? You're not going to.
well, this is, I don't want to be too definitive on that. What I will say is we're having a public hearing this week, and we're also having, and as part of these additional costs in here, we're also having a specially called meeting of the Planning Commission that's going to deal specifically with the 1 to 5 issue as well. So we feel like
How do you conduct a public hearing?
in this case, we're going to be set up where the Planning Commission is going to be remote, and the public will be invited in to address the Planning Commission via our. I think we use GoToMeeting, y'all use WebEx, but they will have the opportunity to express their concerns to the Planning Commission via that forum. Since
And
we are,
they can make public comment?
yes, ma'am. They can also make public comment. They can also make public comment, or they can make comment, I should say, by emailing the Planning Commission directly, and ultimately the County Commission directly.
But can they actually make a public comment on the WebEx meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Joe, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Sturgeon, we are setting up in the auditorium for the October Planning Commission meeting, which is Thursday evening. The public will be able to come in and go up to the podium and speak during the time of the public hearing. There are 6 different items that have public hearings. So for this particular Thursday night Planning Commission meeting, the public will be either able to live stream the meeting if they just want to watch and see what happens. But if they want to make a public comment, they're going to be able to come to the auditorium. They'll not enter the auditorium door that you enter. They'll be entering about halfway down the side of the building, where they will register with a Planning Commission staff member. They'll receive a sticker of sorts that will indicate which public hearing they are here to speak on. They'll be temperature checked and also given a mask if they don't have one. They'll be screened. They'll come in and take a right down the long hallway to the auditorium, where there'll be a sheriff's deputy that will only permit the allotted number of folks into the room at a time once they've spoken at the podium, which the Planning Commission members will be able to see on their Zoom or GoToMeeting or what have you. Once they've spoken, if the auditorium is at capacity, they'll have to leave and go out the auditorium door. If it's not at capacity, they can be seated in the auditorium and watch the action of the Planning Commission on that particular item. When that item is finished, the officer will ask everyone in the auditorium to leave, and then they'll start the process over for the subsequent public hearings. If the County Commission is electronic in November, we'll be repeating that same process. Likewise, there is a public comment, or excuse me, a public hearing address that individuals can email their comments both to the Planning Commission and then following up in November to the County Commission. In our case, if it goes to the County Commission, the county clerk will receive those and they'll be read into the minutes when you all meet.
Wow, that sounds really well thought out.
Well, it's
So the planning commissioners themselves won't be there. They're going to be remotely present on a computer?
correct.
Via computer, right?
Right. I think they had to do that to ensure they had a quorum. And then, of course, we don't know what the status of the November commission meeting will be at this point until the governor
Okay.
takes action the end of the month.
And in the auditorium, there'll be a screen so the people that are in there making comment, as long as it's not at capacity, they'll be able to see the planning commissioners.
Yes, ma'am,
Electronically.
that's correct. The TV screens have been upgraded to a larger screens, and then on each side of the auditorium seating, where we used to have a pull-down screen for a projector, there are large television screens, one on each side of the room there. The room can only hold 27 people, and that includes the staff. So, you know, give or take, there would be about 20 members of the public can sit in there and socially distance.
Gotcha. All right, this is 7 o'clock this Thursday, right?
5:30.
No, ma'am, 5:30.
5:30. Wow, thank you, Diane, for that information.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
That answers my question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner, that has happened. I've tuned into some of those on the City of Franklin, and the Planning Commission seems to work very well with the public. We do have an amendment. I'll entertain amendment to amend this request from $6,300 by $8,700, so a total of $15,000. Will somebody please make that motion, please?
Yeah, Commissioner Sturgeon will make that motion.
All right. Do I have a second?
Herbert, second.
All right, what we're doing is we're amending Resolution 10-20-9 from $6,300 to a total of $15,000. Do we have any other questions from Mr. Horn? All right, we're voting on the amendment to make this to $15,000. Please signify by saying aye for the amendment when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. The amendment passed unanimously. Now back to the main motion as amended, 1020-9, now at $15,000. Are we ready to vote? All right, please signify by saying aye for 1020-9 as amended when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye, and 1020-9 as amended passes unanimously. Next up is Resolution 10-20-10, resolution appropriating amending the 2020-2021 Parks and Recreation budget by $86,198, revenues to come from donations. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I'm not sure. We may have someone from Parks on here if anyone has a question. Anyone have a question? All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
they're not able to join the call, but I did verify that the donation from the CVB for this particular resolution is for the Senior Olympics qualifying that was held here last month, end of August, middle up to September. And then there is a remainder of their donation in reserve here with the county, anticipating the spring Olympics.
Thank you, Diane. That helps explain the $10,000. Anyone else have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor of Resolution 10-20-10, please signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, I.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 10-20-10 passes unanimously. In your packet, you have Resolution 10-20-11. In talking with council, we don't feel like we need to take action on that, so we're going to pass on 10-20-11. No financial impact. And then on 10-20-12, they will hear these at the regular meeting. Don't misunderstand me. This will be heard at the regular meeting, the rules recommendation. And the same thing 1020-12 has no financial impact, and we're going to pass on that from a budget committee action. The county full commission will review that next week. Next up is resolution, we've already heard 1020-13. Now the next one up is 1020-14. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a proposal with the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation for state project number 94011-2258-14 on State Route 96 East from Wilson Pike to I-840. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
All right. And do we have anyone that wants to say anything about this one? Or does anyone have any questions? See, no one on the committee has a question.
I do.
There we go, Commissioner Sturgeon.
I just want to understand what's going on. I mean, it doesn't really, I don't really, this isn't part of Mac Hatcher, is it?
No. Let's see. I believe either Mr. Horn or not Mr. Horn, Mayor Anderson may be able to explain this to you. It's a right-of-way issue.
You hit the nail on the head. That's what it is. Right-of-way issues. And in order to do business with the state of Tennessee, you have to designate who's what, when, and where, and that's all this is.
Okay.
It's basically saying we're giving them the state of Tennessee is going to take the right-of-way on 96 East.
Is that like an easement or something? I mean, what do you mean they're taking the right of way? I'm not sure I understand the terminology.
They're entering in the proposal of the state of Tennessee for this highway project. These are kind of routine. We've done these before in the state because this road is in Williamson County. Jeff, you might want to weigh in on that, the standard procedure.
Sure. When the state is upgrading a state road, as they are in this case with 96 at 840, they will come in and do the right of way and do the construction, and then we will enter into an agreement as to the continuing maintenance on behalf of the county.
Oh, okay. I understand.
This is that agreement.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, this is a continuation of widening 96. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. Ready to vote? All those in favor of resolution 10-20-14 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert.
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton.
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon.
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson.
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. 10-20-14 passes unanimously. We have a couple of late filed resolutions. First one is 10-20-15, a resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to sign the CARES Act grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of State, Divisions of Elections, and amending the 2020-2021 Election Commission budget by $231,479.60. Revenues come from the state grant funds via the CARES Act. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. And we do have Mr. Gray on the line here. Chad, this looks pretty self-explanatory, but you want to do a quick, Chad's not listening. There we go. Chad, you want to give the Reader's Digest update on this one real quick?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've been working with the accounting department to try to secure extra funds to pay for all of this extra personnel, postage, and just general expenses related to COVID and everything in regards to the election. So I think this will help us out a lot.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of resolution 10-20-15 signify by saying aye. And I call your name. Commissioner Herbert.
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton.
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon.
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson.
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. That passes unanimously. Last resolution is also late filed, 10-20-16, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to sign a contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Do I have a motion for approval?
Herbert, motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sturgeon, second.
Thank you. And let's see. I think the explanation probably that's going to come from Nina or the mayor. This is about fees we're paying for mental evaluation of the court system.
Yes,
Nina?
Mr. Chairman, it's in the first whereas there, when a defendant, when the judges determine that a defendant needs evaluation, this sets the contract price for the county. I know the contract's not attached, but it will be at the commission meeting. Depending on the valuation, they have different prices on the evaluations. This set at $450 per evaluation. It's already in the budget, so there's no required additional appropriations to the county.
All right. Thank you, Nina. Anyone have any questions?
This is Commissioner Herbert. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Does, I'm assuming this, someone at the state does these evaluations? Is that correct? I mean, it's not done by individual, but it's a state person.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's in the third whereas the State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of resolution 10-20-16 signify by saying aye when I call your name. Commissioner Herbert?
Herbert, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Morton?
Morton, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Sturgeon, aye.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Anderson, aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb votes aye. So resolution 10-20-16 passes unanimously. Thank you. That is all of our transfers and resolutions today. I'd like to turn it over to the mayor now for an update. Mayor Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to shift it over to Nina to be sure that all the budget members realize some of the favorable rating we've been getting from the bond company over the last week and really over the last several months. Here in a couple of weeks, we'll have another sale, but it's been outstanding work by Nina and appreciate all your support. Nina?
Yes, this past Wednesday, September 30th, we were able to issue the financing bonds that you all approved in September. For the GO bond issue, we got a interest rate of 1.35%, rural debt service 1.38%. The total savings was $8.986 million for both of those combined over a 14-year period. We were just shy of a little over $13,000 to hit that $9 million mark. And that's the most savings that I think I've seen since I've been here. So good thing for the county.
Good job. Thank you,
That's
Nina.
great.
All right, Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again. I want to draw everybody's attention to the COVID-19 uptick that we're having here. Let me go this way. The uptick in the COVID numbers that we're getting in our county. Before I give you these numbers, I should tell you that over the last several months and weeks, we've been dealing with this. We monitor this very frequently. We're having conversations with the hospital. We're having conversations with our city partners, et cetera. And over the last 2 days, we've had an uptick of 500 active cases in the last 2 days.
That's the total cases. It's an increase of 125 over 2 days.
Correct. And it is causing some alarm amongst a lot of us in the conversations we're having. Jeff is going to give you our hospital numbers. My plea to all of you is that continue to wash those hands. to do the social distancing, wearing the mask, and be diligent and not let this thing get away from us. I don't know that Jason Golden is still on here. He's, it looks like
He is.
Jason. When after Jeff gives the numbers for the hospital, would you kind of do a 40,000 foot overview of what's happening at our schools? Jeff?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. As you mentioned, we hit a new high in active cases under the new calculation of active cases, which started about 5 weeks ago. We've never been above 400 until yesterday, and today we're at 500. That's a 33% increase in 2 days. We have a rolling 7-day average of about a 40% increase now over the last week. So we are seeing a significant uptick. At the hospital, we have 17 COVID admissions currently. We had 2 weeks ago, we had been in the single digits. Last week, we were around 14. This week, we're at 17, with 7 of those in the ICU. We had been as low as 2 in ICU 2 weeks ago. So we're seeing a definite uptick. And whether that's a second wave or complacency, we really can't say, but those are the numbers we're seeing.
Jason?
Thank you, Mayor. The schools are experiencing something similar obviously on a smaller scale because we're a part of the county. We track our numbers weekly, and we do multiple reporting mechanisms to the state and for our purposes. I don't have the exact numbers for this past week, but we believe somewhere around 15% of the total is in the schools, but that tends to be concentrated at our high schools. That's what we're finding. And those active cases trigger some pretty substantial quarantines. So the more cases in the community, obviously, the more in the schools and vice versa. We're continuing to emphasize to our folks, if you're sick, stay at home. What we believe we're seeing is, and we're not medical people, right? We're school folks. Is that some individuals who are symptom free end up spreading the virus to someone who then shows symptoms, and it just kind of mushrooms from there. That's a gross oversimplification from somebody on the education side, but it sure seems that's what's happening. So to us, that reemphasizes the need to wear masks, because there are a lot of folks out there who don't know that they have it, and they're inadvertently spreading it. But we've actually returned 3 high schools to remote instruction through Wednesday, which is the last day before our fall break, because the numbers got so high that we couldn't serve them on campus. And that's largely a result of the quarantines that spread out from each positive case.
Thank you, Jason. And my point in bringing this is so I know there are other commissioners on here other than just the budget committee members, is to practice those skill sets that we've got. I won't say we were sailing through, but for the last 2 or 3 weeks, we were seeing awful good numbers being pushed down, et cetera, and then all of a sudden it spiked here in the last few days, and I don't have the answer for that, and I don't think anybody really does, but make you all aware of what's happening on our county-wide level. As you know, in the October County Commission meeting, we'll be remote. I have no idea what the governor's going to do at the end of the month. Will he extend that again? We'll just have to wait and see as we get a little closer to the end of the month in our activities. But when you look at it across the state, it looks like some of the numbers. It looks like some of the numbers are spiking a little at other areas other than just here. That's everything, Mr. Chairman. I see somebody's got a chat. Let's see what they've got here.
All right, Mr. Sturgeon has a question.
What's been the number of deaths with the increased cases? Also, had the number of tests increased or decreased? So our death numbers, I think, went up 4. Jeff, if you got that pulled up, I have to do it.
That's correct. We've gone from 36 to 40 in the last week.
Yeah. The data I'm looking here, in terms of death, we're about in the top 12 or 13 in deaths. As far as number of tests, the tests out at the Ag Center have been decreasing, but that's not alarming to me in that more and more people are going to other areas other than going to the Ag Center to be tested. Now, when they accumulate those numbers, so if I get tested at the Ag Park and then someone else gets tested at XYZ clinic, when we get the reports, those numbers are reported from the state health department as Williamson County. But I don't really have a number of which to give you of how many people are going to the private side to be tested, whether it's at a clinic or whether it's at a hospital. But when those numbers come in, they're all assimilated and accumulated into Williamson County. But our numbers at the Ag Park have been pretty consistent, down in around the 300 a day, whereas at one time we did over 1,000 a day. But I think a lot of people are going elsewhere to get those tests. And let's see, Betsy Hester is asking remote planning commission. I'm not sure, Commissioner, what you're wanting there. Remote planning commission?
I think she's saying, the question, I believe, I see Betsy's on there. You're asking if the October Planning Commission will be remote. Is that your question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
We went over that a few minutes ago with Diane. It will be remote, but citizens may be able to come in remotely, or they may be able to show up at the admin center during the public hearing phase. Is that it? And Diane is on the line and give you more details or give you a call if you'd wish.
Miss Diane, would you give me a call, please, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I certainly will.
Oh, okay. I have folks in my area who were concerned about that, and they were at best confused about what's going to happen Thursday night about wanting to communicate. And quite honestly, I'm confused too. So that doesn't take much. But thank you.
Thank you. Well, Commissioner Hester, Diane went through the procedure pretty well earlier in the meeting, and Mr. Horn went through some of it as well. So
I'm sorry, I got
On the website, I believe.
I'm trying to do two things at once, and I'm having a hard enough time doing one thing.
well, that's fine. Thank you. Mayor, anything else for the good of the group?
No, I thank you. Appreciate you letting me report that. It is a little, I won't use the word alarming, but I think it's very concerning. And we'll try to keep you updated on this kind of, as the news says, developing news as it comes out. Because when you have an increase of, as Jeff said, 33%, that's an area of concern for me, from our county. And it's an area of concern for all over our different cities. So it's got us all looking at it again a little harder, trying to figure out what to do next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for the update. Commissioner Morton, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Webb,
Yes, ma'am.
this is
God.
Commissioner Herbert. I have a question for
Yes.
the mayor.
Go right ahead.
Mayor Anderson, I was just wondering, what is the status of the property on Beasley Drive that we approved last month? Have you got a contract on that?
We've got an intent. We were talking about that earlier this morning in a staff meeting. We're doing the environmental phasing on that piece of property now. I don't have that back. And we're doing, Gresham Smith is doing the building evaluation for us. But we're planning on closing no later than the end of the year if everything works out right, Judy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other business? If not, I'll go back to Commissioner Morton.
Motion to adjourn.
And I will second that motion. Commissioner Morton, thank you very much. We'll see everyone next week. This meeting is adjourned. Bye-bye.